What's going on, guys? Today we're replacing the stock springs in my Camaro with some Hotchkiss ones. That was really loud. Alright, on the back side, you're going to need some sort of impact. You're going to need a 15mm wrench and socket, 13/16 wrench and socket, 18mm wrench and socket. Up here, those 4 bolts that hold the top hat on are the 15mm, and then your sway bar end link is a 15mm. Then down here you have a 18mm here and a 13/16 here. Once you have all those bolts out, you just push down on this arm and the strut falls out. I'll use my foot. There you go. If I can do it holding a camera, you can do it. So it went nut on top, then the washer, then the top hat, and then this washer. So a little rubber. Little rubber. That piece can stay with the strut. So for reassembly with your new spring, make sure that the end of the spring is in the end of the rubber piece. When you take it off, that'll make sense. And on the top side, you had this rubber gasket and a washer. On the inside, top hat only goes on one way with this bend. And then on the top side, you got washer and nut. You can go ahead and tighten that all back together. That nut, by the way, is a 18mm, and I just use my impact to take it off and then put it back on. Remounting everything on the rear is super simple, and it's the exact opposite of taking it off. Alright, I have zero room to work on the front side, but we're gonna make this happen. So once you get the wheel off, I'm not gonna go over that because I'm assuming you all know how to do that. Your tie rod end has to come off, or it doesn't have to, but it makes it easier. Your brake line comes off. These two come off, and this line actually just pulls off. That's all you gotta take off. So tools you're gonna need are 15/16 wrench and socket. That's for these two. A 10mm, either socket, wrench, whatever you want to use. That's for your brake line. And then a 15mm, and that is for your sway bar end link. Once you take all of that off, you can come to the top side of the car and remove that nut. Now, I left the sway bar link in, and that's going to keep the strut from just dropping out, so I don't even need to hold on to it while I loosen that. So once this nut's off, you can just pull this washer off, and then this is ready to drop out of the car. Yep, it's kind of stuck in there from having never been moved. There we go. Alright, with this off, with the sway bar end link still attached, you can pivot it and replace the spring right here on the car. If you're going to do it this way, it's also a good idea to put a bungee cord or something on it to keep stress off of your brake line. Otherwise, you probably rip that line and have to replace that too. There we go. And then it'll tip forward like that. But once you pull the nut off, everything's going to kind of pop off. This isn't under a whole lot of tension, so you're fine. It's not gonna like shoot across the garage and, you know, kill somebody or something like that. Alright, once you pull that off, you put your new spring on. Again, rotate it so it's in the right spot, and then put all your other pieces on. pretty weird to do with. Try and do that all with one hand. And you can just get that nut started, and then I will tighten it back up once it's in the car. So then your next step is to put that back where it came from. Alright, so leaving the tie rod connected and putting the strut back on to the knuckle here is pretty hard. You need to pull the knuckle all the way out, and when you spin the strut, you'll kind of feel it. It'll want to stay pointing like this, or it'll want to point back that way. So you want to turn it till it starts to flip, hold it centered, shove the knuckle in. Once all that's done, you can go ahead and tighten everything back up. Alright, so I tightened everything up under the car. I'm going to go ahead and put the wheel back on, lower the car, and then tighten this and put these two back on. That. Yep. Boom. She's tight. And there you have it. Close your hood. Make sure your lug nuts are all good. Take it for a ride. And hopefully you lost some of that wonderful monster truck wheel gap. So I did time myself doing this, and this wheel took like 15 minutes, and that back corner wheel took about 15 minutes as well. So I guess with moving the jack around from point to point and lifting up, front corner, rear, other front corner, probably looking at an hour and a half to do it. It took me 2 hours to do, but I did stop and get breakfast halfway through. So under 2 hours, you could do this, no problem. If you had a buddy and you did, one side while he did the other, man, that'd be quick and it'd be nice. Good luck changing out your springs. If you don't already have a battery impact, I highly suggest buying one. I have air ones. I have an air compressor at home, but that thing is awesome. 10 out of 10. Would buy again.